When I first heard about the Vidhu Vinod Chopra directed film Shikara, I was extremely intrigued about the film and what it will focus on, especially because of the fact that Chopra himself with his family has lived through the dire circumstances of what happened in the state since the 80s. Before I get into what the movie focuses on and what are its great qualities, I just want to point out that I am objectively presenting my views about the film, its technical aspects, and then will focus on the reason for so much anger, especially amongst the people whose families have suffered plentiful due to the exodus that took place on January 19, 1990. The film focuses on the romance that blossoms between Shiv Kumar Dhar and Shanti in the Kashmir Valley, a doctor and a writer by hobby who is working towards his PhD, and Shanti, a nurse, fall in love with each other instantaneously. They get married at a time where the social and political climate of the state becomes extremely hostile, and this is when the militant insurgency and the exodus of Kashmiri minorities in the form of Hindus as well as Sikhs transitions into the premise. How a section of society that was doing considerably well in the state, had running businesses and held many government portfolios, overnight had nothing in their name and fled the place that they called home. Many of the instances from the film have been inspired from Rahul Pandit's book Our Moon Has Blood Clots, recalls several instances of trauma and violence to Kashmiri Pandits at the time. The sad reality of this movie is that what I just mentioned is the backdrop of this film and not its prime focus. The movie lays emphasis on the love story between the two main characters and how they learn to love and live for each other in these horrible circumstances. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to go for it or not. The good: cinematography, set design and costumes. The visuals of this film are breathtaking, and it cannot be denied that this film accurately depicts every aspect that lives and breathes Kashmir. From the small lanes, brick and mortar businesses across the streets, the design of the houses, especially inside with wooden shelves and planks, the buses that were functioning then and knowingly crossed the border, the clothes worn by the main characters, as well as every single junior artist in the frame. The thick sweaters, the pashmina shawls, every frame has been meticulously designed to do justice to the setting and the time in which the film is set. The film powerfully depicts the transformation of the state as well, on how a land where Hindus and Muslims lived in harmony somehow always gets marred with the outbreak of some kind of communal hatred and religious extremism that changes the landscape and relationships of the people that live there. Brothers in arms become foes for the cause of an endless fight. Performances. The performances of the film are impactful and do not skip a beat in any frame. Aadil Khan and Sadia are spectacular as Shiv and Shanti. Not only are their performances gut-wrenchingly real and convincing, but the chemistry they share in this film actually present a sense of warmth and natural longing for one another that is tough to find in films. The entire movie rests its shoulders on them, and the movie entirely focuses on their love story and how it perseveres through terrible times. Something that I did not expect would be the prime focus of the film. Irrespective with the written material, both the actors have a great command on their lines and presented the best possible first impression to the select few that saw this film. It made me rather sad that we keep on complaining about how nepotism thrives in the industry and how real talent that exists outside the confines of film families are not given opportunities. But when we see these new faces who are so abundantly talented featured in movies, the masses are not even interested to consider it. The double standard is that us as Indian audiences storm into the theatre for Student of the Year 2 or Dhadak, complain about it later and how much of a family business this industry is, but when a film like Laila Majnu comes along, which showcases beautiful performances, no one thinks about it. It's a thought that should sink in, that it's extremely ironic that we want to complain about what we already consume and what we tell the public that we strive for. We don't put our money where our mouth is. Impact and realism. Even though the movie advertised something but presented something else, I have to give credit to the director, especially with the way he portrayed certain moments in the film. I will of course get to the criticism later, but it is undeniable that Vidhu Vinod Chopra is extremely gifted, especially providing impactful moments and real moments that hit you right in the gut throughout the film. The development of tension as Shanti is traveling through a bus only to do as the passengers please develops absolute anxiety on the things to come in the future, as aid is provided in the form of mere tomatoes and all the refugees rush towards the truck to satisfy the horrible hunger and helplessness they feel. The couple looks on. It is one of the saddest sequences to witness on the big screen. The most well-written and impactful moment, however, is when the couple is revisiting Kashmir after spending 18 years in a refugee camp, a journey in which Shiv recites in his mind a poem to himself, a poem that makes him break down. Wadi tera beta hoon, main pandit hoon. There are several moments like this, but I have to come to the criticism now. The underwhelming aspects. surface treatment. What's shocking about the film, especially the fact that it is coming from Vidhu Vinod Chopra School of Filmmaking, who has always been pushing against the grain and is a Kashmiri Pandit himself, is that the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits is only the background element of the film. In the grand scheme of things, the movie lays focus on how even through the toughest times, the love between Shiv and Shanti stayed strong. The ghastly actions to the Pandits on the ground are not presented. Jammu's aid to Kashmiris is nothing but a footnote. The increase of the influence of the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front and the Islamic militant insurgency is barely focused upon. Death counts keep on increasing, but they are merely presented as cautionary tales for Pandits to leave the valley. The political climate of the state are not even mentioned. The appointment of Jag Mohan as governor in retaliation, the resignation of Farooq Abdullah, the execution of president's rule, the Gao Kadal massacre, the kidnapping and release of militants, all of these are but distant memories according to Vidhu Vinod Chopra through this film. See, Kashmir is a very layered and complicated premise to focus on, and so if you present us a story talking about the untold story of Kashmiri Pandits, we want a lot of these aspects to be at least fleshed out. But what the director did is he presented us what every other creator is doing now. Focus on a love story thinking that that is the only palatable thing for Indian audiences. False advertising. See, the director through the story tries to showcase how even our friends, due to the loss of their loved ones, in moments of extreme political and social unrest, can go to lengths leading to pure anarchy. Through this, Chopra tries to develop empathy for a character like Latif, played by Zain Khan Durrani, who resorts to militancy in order to prove a point to the government. The problem is that Chopra doesn't take a stand while portraying the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. He tries to justify everyone's actions by creating an origin story for them. And so it often, from a storytelling point of view, it takes away from the trauma faced by the people that got displaced from their own homes. Wrath is treated with more wrath, and Chopra tiptoes around and not wanting to offend anyone, but in the process, the bystanders, the Pandits in this case, 3 to 6 lakhs who were displaced, who wanted nothing but peace, their plight is sadly undermined. I genuinely feel Shikara was envisioned as something else initially, and somehow it has become this watered down version of Vidhu Vinod Chopra. How is it that a man who felt like this in 2004 about the issue presents us the same page from a story as a background element behind a love story?
And if tomorrow the Pandits took up arms, I wouldn't be surprised. I would probably support that because I think somebody has to hear what they're saying.
See, when the same director presented us 1942, a love story, people fell in love with that film because that's what they expected. A love story set in 1942. The British Raj was the backdrop. When a movie like Dil Se released, the reason for its cult following was the love story set during the time of militancy and terrorism. The love story was the focus. Why were people disappointed with The Forgotten Army that released on Amazon Prime? Because people expected the story about the INA and the influence of Subhash Chandra Bose, but we got a love story. What was advertised was not presented in the end product. Sadly, Shikara is the same. It merely sheds light on the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. It only polishes it on the surface and honestly just presents us how pure love can withstand any storm. And that was the video, guys. Write it down in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.